I always make these types of videos to help young finance professionals like yourself to get started on your FP&A journey. In this video, we will do an in-depth review of incremental budgeting and cover topics like what is incremental budgeting, which type of companies should use incremental budgeting, what are the advantages and disadvantages of incremental budgeting, and also look at an example for how all this works. Alright, so let's get started. First, what is incremental budgeting? This is the most common and simplest approach to budgeting. It means that you already have a budget that is working well and you need to adjust it slightly or incrementally. So basically, you end up preparing the current year's budget based on your previous year's budget by making some small incremental changes or adjustments. We pick up the last year's budget and add or subtract a percentage based on factors like inflation, volume changes, and for any contractual changes. Inflation is a general increase in price level over a period of time. Most companies monitor the economy on an ongoing basis and then based on that decide their inflation factors for their next year's budget. Alright, let's come to when are incremental budgets used and which companies should use incremental budgeting. Incremental budgeting is a common method of budgeting when the management does not want to spend a lot of time in creating the budgets, and also there is no need to do so. This is suitable to stable businesses where there are not a lot of changes in the business environment year over year. This is not suitable for businesses or companies where there is a lot of changes happening. For example, this is not suitable for startup and also for older companies where the business dynamics changes very quickly. Like everything in life, there are of course both advantages and disadvantages to incremental budgeting. Let's look at the advantages first. The first advantage is obviously simplicity. This is the simplest way to create a budget. You just need to pick the last year budget and adjust for inflation. The second advantage is that it is cost effective. You do not end up spending a lot of time, energy, and resources in creating the budget versus compared to any other method like say a zero-based budgeting where you create everything from scratch. Another advantage of incremental budgeting is that it is based on the very recent financial statements, so it can be easily verified. And finally, incremental budgeting also ensures that there is consistency. It ensures that the budget will remain consistent and stable over a period of time. Let's now move on to some of the disadvantages of incremental budgeting. The first disadvantage is wasteful spending. Since the next year budget is dependent on the prior year's budget, some department managers may want to spend all of their last year's budget even if it is not required, as if they don't do so then they will get a smaller budget for the next year. There are chances that the department managers will find ways to spend money which is not required, but they would do so anyways just because the next year's budget is dependent on the current year's spend. Some managers may overspend unnecessarily just so that they get that budget or more in the next year. The second disadvantage is less efficiency, as there is no reward for cutting costs or making improvement, as the next year's budget will automatically increase by the amount of inflation. There is no incentive to cut costs or improve efficiency. Another disadvantage is if there were errors in the original budget, then those errors might carried forward in the next year's budget as well. So we should make sure that if there were any errors or omissions in the previous year budget, we should fix it before we use the budget for the incremental budget next year. Here are some examples of incremental budgeting items. First one is the salary cost. In the first year, the salary cost was 10 lakh rupees. In the second year, the salary amount is calculated by taking a salary hike of 6% on 10 lakhs. So the new amount is 10 lakh 60,000. Similarly, for raw material cost, we add the inflation of 6% and the new budget is calculated by adding the 6% inflation on the original 1 lakh rupees. In the third example for rent, this is the new year's budget is calculated by adding a rate escalation based on the contract on the prior year budget number. In conclusion, to summarize, in this video we looked at what is incremental budgeting, which companies are suitable to use incremental budgeting. We also looked at the advantages and disadvantages of incremental budgeting, as well as we looked at some examples. Please do like this video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in the comments below. If you are looking to start your career in FP&A, then please do subscribe to be sure to keep tuning in for more videos like this one.